PLD Projects presents Holy Snooks, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special live version of Holy Snooks. Well, Holy Snooks Light, because it's only me. It's only PLD here. My man on the street, Matty Gunner. He is over in Japan right now. He's over enjoying himself quite a lot from everything I've been told and everything I've seen. Matty Gunner, our man on the street. I wasn't going to make him stop imbibing some adult beverages just to come on to the show on a phone. It didn't seem like it was worth the time or energy. He'll be back next week, back for our full episode where we're going to be covering Andor, the first 3 episodes of Andor, as well as we'll get his perspective on what went down this week on Celebration. And I figured today was the best day to go live here. I had some ideas of what I wanted to do, some panels that came out. Now, most of the big panels have already occurred as far as news-worthy items would go. The only thing I think left tomorrow for tomorrow's panels would be maybe Vision Season 3, which I'm interested in, but not enough to maybe hold off into doing a complete show. Because life goes on. Life is crazy around here, all the stuff I've got going on in my life. So I figured, while it's fresh, let's hit these news stories out there and at least get my perspective on it, because our Thursday episode is going to be long enough. Obviously, we're covering 3 episodes of Andor, first 3 episodes of Andor, which from all I've heard, it's been amazing that the responses has been great for Andor. I know a few people who have seen all 12 episodes, and they basically say it's as good, if not better, than season 1. So I am excited. I'm excited about that for sure. Good to see you all here in chat here. Douglas, always good. Yes, we will talk about that for sure. That's some of the news that dropped. Akbar versus Thrawn. There we go. But let's get into it. Let's go through the episodes or the panels as they were. First, of course, the one that opened up the entirety of the gig on Friday night, or Friday morning in Japan, rather, I should say, the Mandalorian and Grogu panel. This is the one that I thought was going to be interesting. I thought we were going to get some footage from it. We got news for sure. And more importantly, I remember when I saw the Celebration panel, I was kind of surprised that we weren't getting the typical Lucasfilm live action kind of for like the feature panels. They usually have a panel where we get all the movie news, movies, the rumors, and or the confirmations, the directors. Sometimes for the worse, as last time we got promised quite a bit, and then a lot of things fell apart, as things tend to do. So maybe, I don't know if Lucasfilm learned their lesson that way and decided not to promote it as such. Because the rumors were that Sean Levy was going to appear, and he did. Rumors were that Ryan Gosling was going to appear, and he did. But in a smart move, I think, they had the Mandalorian and Grogu panel where they can promote the most the movie that's coming out next year. That's their big step. But they decided to use that as a kind of half-hearted future panel. Because we opened up with, of course, 3PO and R2. We got Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni walking onto the screen, onto the stage, rather. And before we get into the Mandalorian and Grogu, we had a few little bits and bobs. Got Kathleen Kennedy, to quote Kathleen Kennedy, "We're currently in development of numerous feature films from James Mangold, Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy, Taika Waititi, a new trilogy from Simon Kinberg, and, of course, one from you, Dave. But before we get to the Mandalorian and Grogu, we have another film we'd like to talk about." First up, right there. That's the first step we have to make. I'm glad to hear some of these names still. I mean, Big Bad James Mangold. He is been long talked about. This was thought to maybe be the next film that be in production until the future, what we're about to talk about in a few minutes. I still think this is probably going to be the next film after. I'm betting. I could be wrong, but that's definitely been in development for a little while. I'm happy to see that. Taika Waititi, she says it's still in development. I can't not believe her. She said it a couple times now. It does seem like it's less about any problems they're having and more about Taika finding the time to do it and finish it and do it well. Taika is very busy. I know he's doing Clara and the Sun, a couple other things. I think he's kind of had a hard time cracking the finale of the scripts, so to speak. But Kathleen Kennedy is giving him rope, and seems to me that he is still all on board the Taika Waititi train, which I'm glad for. He obviously hasn't been quite the success the past couple of years as he was in the early 2010s, mid 2010s. I like him. I still like him a lot. I think his work on The Mandalorian was great. So I'm willing to let that go as well. And no, I'm in no rush. As long as it's still going to happen at some point, I'm happy for it. The new trilogy from Simon Kimber, she did say trilogy. That's a confirmation of that. I don't know if she said that in the interview or not. I can't remember. But that's an interesting bit of news. That's, I guess, is going to be the one that's going to be 10, 11, and 12-ish, as it were. I mean, they kind of walk back the idea of not doing any more trilogies. Maybe I don't know if it's a good or bad thing from where I can stand. I kind of like the idea of moving forward that way. We can get confirmation on something that's going to happen. Hopefully, I like the idea of that. The one I was really happy to hear about, though, was Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, which is obviously the Rey film. But a lot of scuttlebutt because, that was one of the big ones that was announced. Daisy Ridley came back on. Daisy Ridley's talked about it a few times. And then Charmin Obaid-Chinoy's name it felt almost deliberately left out during Kathleen Kennedy's, jokey press conference, which was press conference disguised as a interview, as a conversation with a reporter. The fact that her name was left out kind of made a couple of people go, raise their eyebrows whether she was going to be moved on, considering all the production development that has gone through. I don't want to say production hell. It doesn't seem like they are not liking what's going on. They just feel like they've been evolving over time, having ideas brought in and changing them and going from there. So yeah, I'm glad to see that she's still on board. I think if they weren't going to go on board with her at this point, she probably would have just omitted her again, kind of like what happened in the interview. Maybe the interview was an actual omission by mistake. Maybe it was just something she just left out of the conversation. But I'm happy to say, I always thought the Rey movie would continue. If you've watched me on the show before, the Rey movie would continue, but I wasn't sure if Charmin Obaid-Chinoy would be the one to be continuing that. Okay, next up, this is what we had to talk about before the Mando Grogu panel. This is where Sean Levy does walk out, and he does confirm that this is the next film to take place. This next film to be in production. In fact, it's going to be filming in the fall. Like I said, that was the rumor. At one point, I kind of mentioned on the show a few times that he'd been holding some kind of date in September or October to start filming. Well, it's going to happen. And that's not the only rumor that he confirmed. He had a great big moment where he talked about rumors, some of them being true, some of them being not. And he confirmed one rumor being completely true. Ryan Gosling walks onto the stage to great applause, to thunderous applause, much like Liberty dying in episode 3. Ryan Gosling walks on to thunderous applause. Had a cute moment with Ryan Gosling showing his Star Wars bed sheets, Empire Strikes bed sheets that actually I have, or at least I had in my parents' house. I'm not sure they're still there anymore, but when I was growing up, I had those same sheets, as well as Return of the Jedi ones later on. But yeah, Ryan Gosling really seemed to be enjoying his time there. I think this is a great confirmation. I was all for it ever since I heard the rumors. Ryan Gosling is a fine actor, wonderful actor. He's been in plenty of movies I love. Blade Runner 2049, one of my favorite films of 2010s rather. Another favorite film, underrated film, The Nice Guys. Love that film as well. He was great in Barbie. He's great in Drive. He's always been a solid choice, a good actor, a good performer. And I think he has the ability to do drama and comedy, drop of the hat. You kind of need that in Star Wars. Star Wars, at its best, has that little bit of humor, but also has some serious heartfelt moments. Is where Douglas, I see in the chat there. Same here. I know. I could guarantee. I could have told you that without you telling me. I knew you had those. But yeah, I'm very excited about this Gosling, a quote from Ryan Gosling. The reality is the script is so good and it has such a great story with great and original characters and filled with so much heart and adventure. There is not a more perfect filmmaker for this particular story than Sean. Levy says this is not a prequel. This is not a sequel. It's a new adventure with new characters. And the movie was given a date and a title. And I will just play the little video that was shown. It wasn't really a video. Don't get excited. It was a little teasing snippet thing. Here you go. May 28th, 2027. Of course, unfortunately, don't want to get negative because I love all the positivity here on this channel, but I am still a little concerned. We do have the Avengers coming out early May 2027. It feels like a repeat of Solo. We had a Marvel Avengers movie and then Solo coming out. It can be a little wonky, but one of them might move. Who knows? We don't know. I'm not going to be Star Wars, though, I think, this time. I think you got to have it come out right where the 50th anniversary is. Doesn't make sense otherwise. It is weird. This is going to be the 50th anniversary film. And kind of, I had predicted a long time ago that we might get Dave's film here because it might include the big three and kind of be a good celebration that way. But you know what? If the adventure and the heart and the kind of the vibe is like old school Star Wars, which I feel this is going to be, I think it's a good film to have as a 50th anniversary. I get the vibe from Adam Project, which was written by John the Trapper, who is writing this film alongside Sean Levy, directed by Sean Levy, that has a good feel. Ryan Reynolds being the lead of that makes it more of a Ryan Reynolds movie. So I think if you take the Adam Project, which isn't a bad thing for the Adam Project, I wouldn't want Ryan Reynolds in a Star Wars movie myself. Like Ryan Reynolds, maybe a droid cameo would be all I'd want, though. But you take the Sean Levy direction, John Trapper writing with Adam Project, and then you insert a Ryan Gosling in the lead role, I think we could have somebody who's going to be very much so. It's going to have a show as a film that's very much in that Star Wars vibe. Now, about this film as well, I think that John is a wonderful director as far as acting, as far as like a vibe goes. He's shown heart and real steel. We showed Deadpool Wolverine. He can handle big action sequences, things of that nature. I'm excited. I'm very excited about this. The rumors seem to have been wrong in that because the film is called Starfighter. The initial concept was that Ryan Gosling was going to be a Jedi of some kind. It does not appear that way. It does appear he's going to go more the pilot route, whether it's an X-Wing type pilot or the Starfighter type pilot. So I don't know if he's part of the New Republic. I don't know if he is a mercenary. I don't know if he's going to be a scoundrel with a Starfighter. I don't know. A lot of different ways to go. I'm kind of hoping for a scoundrel. I think having Ryan in like nice guys mode kind of thing could be really cool. Just get him another, maybe have Russell Crowe make a cameo appearance. No, I don't really want that. I want a full nice guys too, is what I really want. But I think that'd be kind of cool. Some other rumors had flown around about there being like a teenager lead, like a 15-year-old lead potentially. I know Mikey Madison was offered and you turned down a role as one of the females, not the leading female, but some kind of villain potentially. So we're gonna get some more casting news, I'm sure, very soon because it is starting in September. But I hope the 15-year-old is kind of a force-sensitive kid, maybe a young Jedi Padawan. I think that's something we could really see as unique, having a Jedi Padawan at 15 and a non-Jedi mentor. It's almost like kind of like having Jad Nawood. You know, maybe it could have a Jad Nawood type. Maybe Ryan is force-sensitive. I don't know. Although it feels like if that's the character you're going to go with, you could just have Jad be the lead character, right? But maybe that's a kind of similar way. Maybe it's kind of a scoundrel or a pirate. Have that be the kind of guy who's taking along this young Jedi wannabe, potential Jedi. And maybe he's not even a Jedi wannabe. Maybe he's just a force sensitive kid who has a lightsaber. And there's a lot of different potentials here that I could see making for a very, very fun show. I'm sure by the end of the film, they'll have done something right because they'll probably be the heroes. They're not going to be the villains. There's villains that are going to be cast. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. So yeah, this dropped in that Mando and Grogu panel. And that was a nice, big news bomb, right off the top of the bat. I had been worried we weren't going to get any news at all in Celebration. I kind of been kvetching about that with Maddie. Maddie didn't care. Maddie's going for the Celebration aspect of it. Totally get that. Totally fine if that's what you're here for Celebration for. I totally think that's a wonderful experience for you to have. I kind of have grown accustomed to or desirous of at least getting some big drops of news. And I think I was satisfied with the news so far this weekend, as far as we've gotten. Nothing. The only thing I didn't get, which I did want to get, was some of the footage. I completely understand why it's con exclusive. I mean, that's something that people are traveling to Japan for. They might as well get some exclusives of it. I kind of did think we were going to get the Mandalorian Grogu teaser because that was shown on stage at Celebration. We did not get it to the public. In fact, there was a rumor that it was supposed to be released today because Pedro Pascal and Sigourney Weaver were going to appear on Good Morning America. They did appear on Good Morning America. We still didn't get the teaser, unfortunately. But it is a year away, so we still have time. I can't be too upset about that, again, because I understand the con exclusive side of things. So, all right, that was all for the Levy part of things. He kind of left about 20 minutes in. And then we got into The Mandalorian and Grogu. And this, of course, is the next film to be played to make it into the theaters from Star Wars. Looking forward to that quite a bit. I will say that Pedro Pascal, during the weekend, not during this panel, but later on, did say it was one of the greatest adventure stories of all time, meaning this film, not just Star Wars in general. And he said he means it too. I mean, sometimes it almost sounded like that's something you would say. You're promoting a movie, of course, you're going to say it's good. But he kind of looked at it and said he really meant it. And so, hey, I'm going to choose to believe him. Maybe he really liked it that much, right? So who knows? We're going to find out in about a year. What else did we get from that panel? Got some cool bits and bombs, of course. We get a picture of Zeb with Mando and Grogu. We kind of knew Zeb was in the movie. We did get some backstage here. There's a shot of from some of the footage that was shown. A little R5 back there. Is that R5 or is that going to be a different R5 type droid? I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, soon enough. That was definitely something I'm looking forward to. I like the connectivity, of course. If you've watched me before, I love connectivity. So give me any more of the Rebels channels. Had some BDX droids operated by Anzellans. They're on screen, which is kind of fun. I love the Anzellans. Got Sigourney Weaver in a fighter uniform. That was another picture that dropped from behind the scenes. It's definitely confirmed that she is in the film. There she is. And she had a big presence at the panel as well. She actually joined the panel. She joined on stage with John and Dave and with Pedro, and they had a good time talking about a lot of different things there. She said she hadn't initially seen The Mandalorian, but after doing so, she fell in love with the show, with Pedro Pascal and with Grogu. And of course, Favreau got to bring on Grogu onto stage, so that was really cool. I do want to point out, I got a high res photo of one that was shown on screen because Pedro Pascal later Instagrammed it out. There it is. Din, helmetless Din. It looks like, I don't know if that's an actual production shot or if that's just kind of a magazine type shot. I don't know. Helmetless Din, though, would be good to see. I'm kind of hoping that we do get helmetless Din during the film. They made a big deal, or I don't know if they made a big deal about it, but they definitely were confirming for sure that he's not just doing voiceover. He is actually doing costume work as well. He did also want to shout out, of course, Brandon Wayne and sort of the other two actors who have done the suit work. So all three of them play Boba Fett, which is cool. Or Boba Fett. Did I say Boba Fett? God, it's late. I'm sorry. It's like 2 a.m. here. Play Din Djarin, of course. This is the last Star Wars celebration before this movie, so that's a big deal for them. And then we got the 2 minutes of footage. It was a 1 minute scene. I got to see, actually, I will say I did see the leaked footage. It was up for a little bit. It's been taken down now. I don't usually do that. I'm kind of surprised myself for doing it, but I kind of had this feeling like we weren't getting the trailer, and I was really excited to see it. So I didn't like search for it. It was like popped up with me on my social media feeds, and I just kind of went, I'll hit play. Luckily, it was actually a pretty good recording of it. It wasn't like one of those usual con recordings where you can't see anything. There's like, you can see pretty much everything. You hear everything pretty clear. We got to see if you want spoilers, if you want to walk away from this, I don't know, but some people are staying completely dry. I get it. But we do have the idea of a hallway fight, much like Daredevil. We have, and like, honestly, like Vader in Rogue One and like Luke in The Mandalorian, we have an AT-AT scene where Din is going to be taking out a lot of stormtroopers and doing it pretty well, including the humorous bit there when the door closes on him and the Imperial who's left sighs pretty nervously, happily, oh boy. Had a great, funny sequence between Sigourney and Din. They were sitting at a table where Sigourney's character is basically saying, you work for us now, we need you. All the while, of course, Grogu, trying to get his snacks, starts reaching out with the Force to some snacks that are by Sigourney Weaver's character. She stops it without even looking at him. Fun moments there. Get to see Zeb, get to see Grogu fighting a droid, get to see Grogu swimming. A lot of cool stuff. A lot of stuff you would see in a teaser aspect. It did end with the final shot of presumably Rod of the Hutt, Stinky himself, at least from the back, making some kind of gladiator type pose. Looked like he was in some kind of a coliseum. Yeah, so I'm pretty cool with that, actually. That's a fun little teaser. I wish we got to see the whole full high res version. I'm hoping it won't be too long. I mean, it is about a year away. Maybe they're waiting for that year mark. Maybe we're waiting for a little bit later on in the fall. I'm not sure, but we'll get there. So I'm not too disappointed. I am also not regretful of pressing play on the leaked version now. So Douglas, yes, yes, I was disappointed he went back to the never doing the show. Yeah, I get that as well. I kind of want to see more of him. That sounded really wrong. Yeah, you know what I meant. I like to see more Pedro Pascal's face, his beautiful manly face. But that was really the end of that panel. Really good though to see. It was really fun. Next little bits and bobs. I'm not a gamer, as many of you know. If you've watched my show before, I don't do the games. Maddie does the games. He did the whole Outlaws review, and he's been playing it. I feel like if I started playing games, I already don't have any time as it is. I would get locked into these games, and it would take up way too much time for me. However, that being said, Outlaws had a debut of a trailer for the next downloadable content, Pirate's Fortune, which is and it releases on May 15th. If anything was going to bring me back to gaming, it might be this, because it does end Hondo Watch 2025 for the first time. I mean, not really, because Hondo watches for our movies and TV shows, but it is Jim Cummings back as the old pirate, our patron saint, our mascot, as you were. And I love to be able to play against or with Hondo until he absolutely betrays me at some point. I'm sure for money or for a ship or for any number of reasons why. But looked great, looked fun, looked like Hondo. I'm gonna guess, looking at some of the stuff behind the scenes and stuff, that this is what Jim Cummings was talking about in that recent interview where he mentioned having done some motion capture for Hondo in a project. I'm gonna guess it's this. The main reason I'm guessing it's this also, honestly, is because I don't want hope. I'm like Jeremy Renner in the Avengers. Don't give me hope. I don't want to get too excited about anything because I don't know when Hondo would show up next. I'm hoping for more. I am hoping for more, but I'm trying to convince myself that this is what it's for. Hondo Watch will never die. Even though we have temporarily switched it, I told you before, we switched it for Mosk Watch for season 2 of Andor. I think Mosk Watch is going to be Linus Mosk. I think that's going to be as fruitless as our recent Hondo Watches have been. But you never know. Hondo Watch will return for Tales of the Underworld coming May 4th, because you never know. That seems to be a place that could happen. It could happen. All right. Next up, we had a publishing panel specifically for manga, which I've never read much manga. It's never been anything I've gravitated towards. Nothing against it. I will read the Star Wars ones when they come out. Quick highlights there. We're going to be a manga version of the Thrawn novel by Timothy Zahn, which is awesome. A new path of the lightsaber, new original. And then, interestingly enough, a manga adaptation of Jedi Fallen Order. That does interest me. I never got to play the game. Haven't even really watched a lot of the cutscenes. That's something I'm going to be doing during my watch through. I'm doing a whole complete canon read / watch through. When I get to the video games, I'm going to try to watch all the cutscenes and as like if I was watching a movie. Speaking of which, I just ended The Eye of Darkness, that Arcane Row book in the High Republic. Oh, what a good one that was. I'm getting into phase 3 now, and I am looking forward to that. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. But yeah, that was pretty much the panel, the manga panel, not a whole lot more to it. They showed some of the Visions comics. They did show the comic book, interesting enough, that the Ronin, Visions Treasure Edition, which has some Ronin stories and Ronin artwork, which is cool. Path to Lightsaber looks fun. But it's really Jedi Fallen Order that was the big one for me out of that. I'll probably read that. I might read the Thrawn adaptation as well. It'd be cool to kind of put some visuals to those words, to do these Zahn's words. All right. Next up, panel-wise, they did have a Light and Magic Season 2. The trailer premiered at Star Wars Celebration, and it's now streaming on Disney+. I feel like I betrayed Ken Knapsack a little bit in that I still haven't watched this. He's mentioned it a few times how good it is, and I really do want to watch it. I haven't watched Season 1 or haven't watched Season 2 either at this point. It is something that is in my eventuality of queues, because they are a tremendous company, and learning about the background of that company and how it developed in Star Wars and out and beyond, and Pirates of the Caribbean and Jurassic Park and all of the pretty much every franchise you've ever loved or watched or loved. it's exciting, and it's fun, and it's awesome to see. So I have no excuse for not having seen it except for just time and stuff I have to watch for podcasts and things of that nature. Um, Maybe I will do a when we're in between after Andor is done and we're in between time then and the next thing. Maybe we'll do a Light and Magic. We'll watch the Light and Magic and talk about those episodes and go from there. We'll do that as our main content on Holy Stone. So let us know if you want us to do that. We could do an episode by episode guide of that. Obviously, it'd be different kind of review than we usually do. No funniest moments and action moments. Hondo is definitely not appearing, at least. Well, no, you never know. I guess you never know, right? I guess you never know. All right, next up, we had the big one, big couple of ones. Let's talk about the publishing one first, though. We did have the publishing panel, the main Lucasfilm publishing panel, talking about the books and everything else. And I gotta say, of all the panels, news-wise now, that just want to stress that news-wise, this is the one that was definitely the weakest. I was looking forward to this one quite a bit. I was really hoping we were going to get, obviously, with the High Republic initiative ending, I was hoping we were going to get some idea of the next big initiative, which I guess is me being cocky and me being assumptive, because who says there is going to be a next big initiative right away? Maybe they're going to take a lot of time off before they do any kind of big initiative. We did not get anything new big wise. And honestly, we didn't get anything really new at all in the panel. Mostly they had announced pretty much everything before Celebration even hit. A few couple bits and bobs, as it were. I did see that on the old site, the bad site there, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Darth Tom, who's one of the Random House people, he talks a lot about Star Wars stuff all the time. He actually mentioned that in a comment. Someone said something about not getting a lot of news. He said the cons are not always the best place to announce things for publishing. I'm sure they have their reasons. But another reason why we didn't get much news, I think, is that we already have a big chunk of books coming out. Big chunk of books are already coming out this year already. So what else can they really squeeze in there? Did have a bunch of the authors on stage, which is kind of cool, and getting to hear them talk about what they got coming on. Of course, let's go through what was mentioned. So most of them had been announced before. The Revenge of the Sith deluxe novelization re-release is coming. I'm excited about that. I love annotated books, and hearing Matthew Stover talk about Revenge of the Sith, one of the best, probably the best Star Wars adaptation or film adaptation novel out there, and to hear him go deep into what was behind that's an awesome idea. So I can't wait for that for sure. Another big one I want to get, this is going to be an eventual one, but they already announced Doug Chiang, the Cinematic Legacy and the Star Wars. Basically, it looks just like the old Ralph McQuarrie book, and it is basically elevating Doug Chiang up to that Ralph McQuarrie level, which I guess it's kind of weird because he's always you got the OG and you got the new guys, and you always feel weird elevating somebody up to the OG level. I mean, Ralph McQuarrie was a genius who started the whole thing, but Doug Chiang has been there now for the same amount of time, if not longer, probably longer at this point, and had more designs to go through. So no disrespect to Ralph McQuarrie at all. Doug Chiang deserves to be mentioned in that same airspace when it comes to Star Wars. So it's awesome that he's going to get a big book like that. I'm sure I didn't see a price point for this, but it's an 800-page 2-volume slipcase. It's huge. I'm excited about that, but it might be a little bit before I get it, to be honest with you. Unless I win the lottery or else something like that, or else I could get a bunch of patrons to join up. Might not patrons, all goes back to the show anyway. Another, we got honor of the 50-year anniversary of ILM, 50 years of anniversary. 50 years of innovation, rather, I said. Going to be released on November 4th. That had a kind of a cool picture title to it as well. That could be another good coffee table type book if you're into those. Doug Chiang's book in December 2nd. So that's going to be fun as well. Also, we got the Andor, The Art of Andor, written by longtime author Phil Szostak. That's going to be released next year, I believe, in 2026. That's always cool. Then we moved on to the fiction side of things, which is what I'm most excited for. I love reading Star Wars stories. Obviously, Trials of the Jedi, the final novel in the High Republic Phase 3. We got to see the front and back. I did not pull that picture for you, unfortunately, but it is on the internet if you want to find it. Shows the 9 luminous Jedi together. We got Azen Rel, Bel Zettifar, Reith Silas, Torben Buck, Avar Chris, Elzar Mann, Buriaga, Ty Yorick, who is my favorite, and Tarek. I love Tayorica. I'm glad to see that she's got a big part to play in the Trials of the Jedi for sure. That's cool. Talked about that a lot. They said that it's going to be an explosive ending. I think High Republic has been mostly overall a success. Your miles may vary. I'm going to say something that might be controversial. I loved Phase 1, and I've loved Phase 3 so far. Phase 2, I feel like Phase 2 killed the momentum of Phase 1. When I was reading Phase 1, I was all in. I went and also we started Phase 2. I was like, I don't really know who these people. I'm not that excited about it. It wasn't that it was poorly done. It just didn't have the same feel and stakes and moving the story forward that Phase 1 had. I felt like I'm like, oh, I mean, it worked when it comes to the Star Wars trilogies, I should say. It worked going 4, 5, 6, then going back 1, 2, 3, because we saw the ending. We saw the ending. 6 was the ending of the story. This would be like going like machete order style, like your first time through, going 4, 4.5, 4 part of 5, then going back to 1, 2, 3, then going back to 5 and 6, and it's like, wait, I don't understand what's going on there at all. Like it just seems like it's such a jerkingness of time. I almost feel like it would have been cool to do a Phase 1, Phase 3, or Phase 2, Phase 1 and Phase 3, and then go back and tell the stories of Phase 2 afterwards in a different kind of time frame. It could have been a sequel or whatever. Let's learn more about how this all came to be, much like we got with Star Wars, the prequel trilogy. So the momentum really stalled for me. So much so that I was so far behind. I stopped reading them a little bit, or I was much slower in reading them. That's when I started reading the Phase 2. That's when I got the idea of I'm going to go back and read everything chronologically. So I was like, okay. And I went from Phase 2 and back into rereading Phase 1, and that's what led me right into Phase 3. And it's been phenomenal. I'm so excited with how it's going now. Thank you, Douglas, for agreeing with me. I appreciate that. But yeah, miles may vary. If you love Phase 2, I'm happy for you. Maybe you love Phase 2 as being better than Phase 1. Maybe that's what you thought. And if that's the case, more power to you. I'm glad for you. People have different tastes. Next up, we all got a little bit a lot more talking about I Can Speak. It's 2 a.m. Remember that. Adam Christopher's novel, Star Wars Master of Evil, a new story set before A New Hope, chronicles Vader's haunting pursuit for the power to conquer death. He said his novel slots into that space left by multiple Darth Vader comic runs. He actually mentioned them specifically because it does take place right after Revenge of the Sith, right after the end of the Clone Wars. And he mentioned specifically that he wants to match up with the early comic run, which was wonderful. And Charles Soule's comic run was wonderful. He's a wonderful comic book writer, especially on Vader. So Christopher says it slots into a spot that Charles Soule didn't quite hit. So, hey, I'm okay with that. To see how that goes. The cover of that is beautiful, by the way. And I know some people, again, your miles may vary. Some people have said that they didn't like the idea of another Vader novel. To me, I'm like, I love Vader. Any more we can get into his head, I'm okay with. And it's not like there's been a whole lot of Vader stuff. We've avoided Vader for a little bit. Let's have a book. I'm okay with that. Interestingly enough, Chris Kempsall teased a follow-up to his in-universe historical book, which was penned by Bo Bond-Kin, called Star Wars: The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire. He said that Kin isn't done writing about the Galactic Empire, but he isn't the only in-universe around. So it seemed to imply that perhaps he was going to write a similar story, the Rise and Fall of, or the Rise of the Rebellion, maybe, or is it the Rise and Fall of the First Order? I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm excited about that. That was a very, very big but engaging and interesting history book for Star Wars. Well done. Definitely it had a lot of parallels with today's society, so I'm glad to see that happening. I'm hoping to see that does come clear, so I'm excited to see how that goes. Hopefully we'll get more news about that soon. Got some more High Republic stuff, actually some more Accolade stuff, which is technically High Republic stuff. Tessa Gratton talking about the Accolade, the Crystal Crown, which is going to follow Padawan Jeki and Yorda on an adventure while their masters are too busy dealing with politics. I'm happy for these the Accolade fans who have been looking for more Accolade material. I know you want on screen. I understand that, but at least it's something for you. So I'm excited for that. That should be a fun one there. And we got some great comics they talked about. They had the ending of the High Republic Initiative is actually going to end in comics. The final one is the High Republic Fear of the Jedi, the finale. The Beacon, one shot coming in July 30th by Kevin Scott. And that's supposedly the final High Republic tale marking the end of the initiative. Although I still want to throw out there they shouldn't end the and writing in this time frame. Just because the initiative is done doesn't mean we can't have stories. There's a lot of stories to tell in this era. I know they want to maybe expand into other eras, and that's probably a good thing as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an Old Republic era, or if we do have initiative with the Old Republic, much as the High Republic was done. I think that'd be great. You got some other comics coming. The High Republic Adventures, The Battle of Ariadu is coming April 30th. That's very soon. I'll get to that when I get to it chronologically, which actually I'm getting close to that, I think. Got some great more hyperspace stories. Codebreaker by Ethan Sachs, showcasing Poe Dameron's return. A slew of comics talking about the infiltrating a First Order base of some kind. That should be fun. I got some more information on Star Wars Jedi Knights by Mark Guggenheim, and mentioned that Jango Fett will make an appearance. But more importantly, the big issue coming up featuring Kelleran Beck. Kelleran Beck, some great art, some great cover art on those on Star Wars Newsnet, having those from the panel itself. I'm excited about that. And finally, of course, Charles Soule's Legacy of Vader is continuing. They talked about that, and a previously unknown Knight of Ren named Tava Ren, which is set to face off against Kylo Ren during this time frame. I'm really loving the Kylo Ren stuff, the Legacy of Vader. It's been fun. It's been a fun one for sure. Finally, got some more arts and stuff like that. Art of Star Wars: The Acolyte visual guide. Some cool, interesting looks at the Stranger, and some possibly artwork that showed the Stranger could have been even more psychotic looking than we got. A lot of cool stuff there. And the last thing they did mention was a Millennium Falcon comic. I've been working on a secret Millennium Falcon comic, which will arrive later this year. No details were given on that. I don't know what that means, a Millennium Falcon comic. I'm fascinated by that idea. There was the Millennium Falcon Legends novel. That was cool. But the comic, what could that be? Could it be a Han and Lando? Could it be Lando? Could it be Han? Could it be Hondo with the Falcon? I know I don't want to say Hondo Watch, but I'm going to say Hondo Watch. All right, let's move on then to the bigger panels. The bigger panel of probably the biggest panel, honestly, if you're a Star Wars fan. This was the Lucasfilm Animation 20th anniversary panel of Star Wars Celebration. This was huge. This was a big one. I got teased and thought I was trying to watch it at this point. I was trying to watch this and looking for news. I was hoping for an announcement of an animated series. That's what I was hoping for. The new Beyond Tales of the Underworld, which had already been announced. I was looking for that big prime next series like the Bad Batch. And the way the panel went, I thought we weren't getting it. I actually texted some people being pretty disappointed about not getting it. Then they kind of like record scratch. Hold your horses. But we'll get there. Let's get through the actual panel first. Well, they look back at 20 years in animation, like it's a transformer. Yes, Dom, it's like it's a transformer. Panel started with a look back video, beautiful video. It's online now on YouTube. You can watch it. In fact, you get your first look at the new series that's coming out. It's a very look back at George with Dave through Clone Wars, through Rebels. And that's what the whole panel was. Basically took us through most of Star Wars animation. I say most because we didn't really touch on Resistance as much. The redheaded stepchild of the Star Wars canon cartoon animated series. I will say they didn't actually talk about Young Jedi Adventures either, which I shall confirm. Outside of the animation panel, they actually confirmed that Young Jedi Adventures will be getting a season 3, which is exciting news for Young Jedi Adventures fans. I actually watched through them. They are definitively for kids, even more than any other Star Wars things. They're definitely for young kids. But I will say there was some some potentially moments that were kind of cool for parents who are watching it. Not kind of nothing sexual or anything like that. Nothing like the Disney used to do with the Lion King and anything else. But some momentum was there. Season 3 might be a little darker. We could see the Nihil. That's been talked about potentially. But it'd be hard to do the Nihil in a Young Jedi version. That's why I always thought the Gangle were basically the Young Jedi version of the Nihil. But I guess we'll find out. But back to the panel. We did get to go through a lot of different cool stories. Dave Filoni talking about working with George, which always I love hearing. I love hearing about that Dave and George stories because they are the framework of Star Wars for me for growing up at this point. So George Lucas was just an important part of Star Wars, obviously the most important part. But Dave Filoni's bringing the animated stuff to life with help from George really expanded my universe in a lot of different ways. Talking about some cool war episodes. They were talking about some stuff they've mentioned before, like they've studied like World War II battles and used those as animatics, basically. But it was really kind of cool. We did get to talk about another arc that they never got to do in Clone Wars. Well, not a new arc. It was talked about the Boba Fett arc, which we've gotten before. We got that hell of my celebration I went to. I got to see some of the Boba Fett Cad Bane showdown, as it were. This is more of that arc, but it was a part that I never got to see before or hear before. It showed basically Boba Fett and Anakin chasing down Boba Fett, like kind of like very similar to Attack on the Clones, with Anakin chasing down Zam Wesell. Similar vibes to that, but obviously Anakin and Boba Fett. Unrendered, very not finished at all, just like those were. Still fun to see. It's always fun to see, though. It makes you think, oh, I wish we could have gotten that. I wish we could have gotten that. In fact, the way they were doing that, I almost felt like we were going to get a Boba Fett series. I kind of felt like that's where this was going to be going. We're going to have this episode be finished somehow as part of a new series, somehow, potentially. I thought that might be the way they were doing it, but not. But I was wrong. I was wrong. We talked more about how Rebels came to Disney and how Disney did not hinder them in any kind of way, which is cool. They did ask Filoni to put Darth Vader into Rebels. This is an interesting story, I thought. Disney pushed Filoni to put Vader in, and Filoni said, well, if we're going to have Vader in, then he's going to have to be Darth Vader, and he's going to have to be truly evil, which he didn't think Disney would accept. And bringing Vader in really changed the entire tone of the show. And if you look back at Rebels, I think it's absolutely true. The first batch of most of season one, very low key, it was very much mostly kiddie compared to her and God. Still fun, still a lot of fun to be had. But when Darth Vader came in, all of a sudden the show's kind of jumped to the next level and got a little more darker, got a little more intense at this point. Let them bring Ahsoka in, let them bring the clones back in, and I think it led honestly to a better show. I do honestly think that without the jump in level, Rebels might not be as well remembered, if I'm honest. I talked about the clones, about Bad Batch a little bit. Not a whole lot. I was happy to hear a little bit of it, though. But they didn't have time. I feel like they ran out of time because they had to do some other things. And one of the first things they did was they got to show the first episode of Tales of the Underworld. And that's the new forthcoming Tales of Anthology series that's coming on May 4th. 6 episodes, 3 episodes of Asajj Ventress and 3 episodes of Cad Bane. We got to see, the royal we who was at Celebration, who was in that panel, got to see a full episode of the series. And it was the first episode from the Asajj Ventress arc. Spoilers, if you don't want to know, I'll give you 5 seconds to kind of pause for a minute. We get to see Obi-Wan Kenobi, Quinlan Vos, and we got to know that this is the episode we get to see here brought back. It answers all the questions about how she survived Dark Disciple, or how she came back from Dark Disciple. All the questions that we asked when we saw her in the Bad Batch, and when they were teased that her story wasn't done. And we all most of us thought that this was going to be the next series. But we get to get it into the Tales of, which is kind of cool. Also, the Kiners are scoring it as they should. That's going to be fun. I've heard from multiple people that it's a banger. It was a banger of an episode, and then we're getting everything we wanted to get. So I'm excited about that. When that happened, as I'm not watching the panel, I'm just, like I said, I'm watching social media. When they showed the episode, I figured that was it. Like, they're ending with the exclusive episode. And I was very disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what? That's it? We're not gonna get any more bullshit. Got a little angry. I admit I was hoping for it. I know, and that's on me, right? You can't have your hope let you assume what's going to happen. And if you assume too much, that's when you get disappointed. But luckily, I had to eat my words and go, wait, record scratcher. They came back from the episode, and Collins teased an announcement showing off a special 20th anniversary of animation poster, which they got at Celebration. It's a phenomenal looking poster. If you find it online, it's beautiful. Basically, they said, let's say there was a new series. And Athena Portillo, who was out with Dave Filoni, who got all the praise, Athena got all the praise, and rightfully so. She said, I would talk about it. I would just show it. And they went ahead and showed a trailer for the next premiere animated show. That's right. Maul Shadow Lord. Yes, Sam Witwer appeared right afterwards and got to pull his own little Ian McDermott. Said I roll it again. He just said, play it again in Darth Maul voice, or in Maul voice, I should say. They got a teaser for that as well. We have not gotten said teaser. I was wrong in that I thought it was going to come out the end of this year. We don't have an exact date yet, but it did say it was coming out in 2026. A lot of cool things I've heard about the teaser. It does appear that we're going to see a version of Darth Talon. If you don't know who that is, Darth Talon was a character from the Legacy comic book run, which was far, far in the future during the Legends era, with basically a method descendant of Luke Skywalker, Cade Skywalker. Darth Talon was one of the villainous characters of that series, who George Lucas actually liked so much when he read about her. He was going to bring her in himself. He wanted to pitch her on some different tales. Darth Bikini. Darth Bikini is right. He had some storylines potentially for her, never worked out, but eventually he liked her so much that when he pitched his own version of the sequel trilogy, as he sold it to Disney, Darth Maul and Darth Talon were going to be the two main baddies of the entire sequel trilogy. So it's impressive that George liked a comic book character that much to bring her in. So, but she did kind of, well, at least character that everybody believes is her, and I think is her, when it made an appearance in the teaser footage. That's exciting to me. Maul having an apprentice. Sam Witwer did later on say it takes place a year after the Clone Wars. That's when it starts out, at least. I don't know if it's going to just stay there, or as we don't know how long this show is. Is it like a season long? Is it a typical 3-season length show? Is it a unlimited 10-season length show? I'm hoping that we're going to get from point A to point B. Point B being, actually, I should say like point Z, which is point Z is on Malachor when we see him in Rebels for the first time. But that should hopefully bring in characters from Crimson Dawn. From Solo, we hopefully get some Kira. Whether or not it's going to be voiced by the actress, I don't know, but I would like to see Kira being played there. We got to see a lot of different underworld tactics in Crimson Dawn there. This is where Hondo Watch could absolutely come into play. Maul and Hondo have a history. Let's bring it back together. Could be very fun. Could be very fun. It looked like the art style that I did see looked very similar to the Clone Wars Bad Batch style of art. Not too much out of the way. I do think I read I wish I could credit this person because I read this on social media. It was an interesting idea they had. You could go more stylized with this animated effort, and it could work if you do it and have it be like a version into Maul's mind. And let's imagine that these characters from Maul's past are kind of haunting him. You'd have like Satine be in his mind. You could have because you have that what is it in Rebels? They had like the altar to Satine all crossed out and his anger at Obi-Wan. You could have Satine in there. You could have like his brother and his head still after that. A lot of different kind of cool things. The descent of Maul into madness, as it were, because we got to all admit he's not really all there by the end of his run of his life. It could be a kind of a cool stylized way to attack this show. I'm very interested to see this show because having Maul as the lead is having a villain as a lead is always interesting. The temptation is always there to give them redemptive arcs, to give them more, to humanize them more. The Penguin was a great example of how they didn't do that. They kind of thought you might be doing that before they turned it on you. I'm not going to spoil the entire thing, but they do actually turn it on your ass at the end. I'm hoping they stick with Maul being as villainous as he is, and I think they will, because Filoni in the panel was talking about how when you talk about Vader, you have to have him be what George Lucas wanted him to be. You can't change him because otherwise that ripples get sent out throughout canon. So if Maul's going to be in there, he better be Maul the entire time, which means you can have other characters that are good be in there potentially as well to kind of show the other side of things. But you can see a lot of different characters in there. There's a lot of different potential. You can get Hondo, you can get Obi-Wan, you can get Ahsoka. We don't really know what's going to happen at this point. We don't know when they last saw each other. We can get Han Solo. We can get Lando. We can get a lot of different people going in there. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting for sure. I'm excited about that. 2026 can't come soon enough for that. 2026 year is going to be a big year for Star Wars. We talked about it being the end of Star Wars after Andor. And then Tales of the Underworld. Yes, 2025 is dry after that, although Visions might be coming out at the end of this year still, so that could tide us over. But 2026, we're going to get Maul. We're going to get Mandalorian and Grogu. We're going to get Ahsoka Season 2. A lot coming for Star Wars fans. So, yeah, let's get ready for that for sure. But, yeah, that was the animated panel. My favorite panel, definitely, of the weekend. A lot of good stuff. They got exclusive teaser. They got exclusive episode. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool overall. So, all right, what else we got here? The last panel I will talk about news-wise. We did get the live Andor Season 2 panel today. I'll talk to two panels. The Andor and Ahsoka panels were today. Not a whole lot, obviously, from Andor panel news-wise. They did get to see the first episode. It was a great conversation. Diego Luna was there. Tony Gilroy was there. Genevieve O'Reilly, Denise Go, Kyle Solar, Alan Tudyk, Adria Arjona, and San Wollenberg all were there. That was pretty cool. Talked about how many, like, they had a great amount of sets. San Wollenberg, who is the executive producer, by the way, said it's 140 sets, 700 costumes, 152 pictures of creatures, 4,100 VFX shots. That's a lot. That is a lot. The cast teased a lot of different things for Season 2 without saying a whole lot. They teased a little bit. O'Reilly said, we go to dark places this season. Denise Go says, we find out where Dedra comes from. Things will get a little strange. Go says it was much darker this season. It wasn't as much a girl boss. It's much more fascist. Kyle Solar, of course, says it's really weird. Cyril is starting the season feeling pretty good about himself. He has a new promotion. He's flexing a small amount of power that he has. He's trying to flex this, pointing to Denise, and it goes super well. A lot of staring. They had a great chemistry between them. They're very fun together. Not the characters. They were Denise and Kyle are very fun together. Much more. You will root for them much more in real life than you do with their characters. That's for sure. Adria Arjona had a great time there. She seemed genuinely really excited about everything. It was great to see Alan Tudyk back. He's coming back to see the birth of K2SO this season. He said he did have for a time hold out hope for his own spinoff to K2 Fast, K2 Furious. That would have been wonderful. The birth of K2SO gave me a little bit of pause. I thought we might just skip over them meeting together, and that'd be the way they would not contradict the canon comic that they have. But it does look like if you hear that, then maybe the canon comic is going to be ixnayed. And I understand when people are upset by that, but at the same time, I think it's okay. You can kind of retcon something if something comes along. If a one-off comic book is there and you liked it, I get it. But having the Tony Gilroy TV show overwrite that, it's campfire stories, guys. It's all campfire stories. You can tell them different. It's a fictional world. You can see different things, and you can all depend on what you want to see. I'm not too upset about it. So if you're upset about it, I'm sorry. I try to be empathetic, but it won't bother me if we get a new version of it for sure. Yeah, Diego, very happy. And they showed episode 1 rather of the second season, and it was well received. Also on YouTube, there is a behind the scenes featurette, a new one with some new footage. I did watch it. Shouldn't watch it. We're so close. Why am I getting anything else? Why am I spoiling myself now? But I did. What can you say? What can I say? I have very little weak willpower. I'm very weak for sure. Next up, a little brief thing before we go into the Ahsoka panel. We did get an announcement of a new Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy Pieces of the Past with Box Ahsoka Tano, and it is voiced by Ashley Eckstein. So she returns to the character, kind of, in a way. I did enjoy the first one. We covered it here on the podcast. We'll probably cover this one as well because we'll be during the relatively dry period of Star Wars content. So Rebuild the Galaxy on September 19th, we'll do it. It says all episodes, so maybe we'll take a couple at a time. Who knows? I'm excited about that. I'm fun enough. I think it's a fun enough thing. Some people, is it kiddie? Sure. But is it fun? Absolutely. Some of the best what if content is out there. All right, let's go on to the final bit. Ahsoka season 2. This was actually mentioned. This panel was touted, smartly so, touted as a look back at season 1, and it was for the most part. It does allow us to get a little bit of news at the end. But first, the panel itself. We did look back at season 1 and got to talk about Dave, John, and Rosario Dawson started the panel off. Got to hear a few more stories about George Lucas being on set, always pushing Dave to go further. John and him having some barbs about who gets control of what. Basically, they're playing in each other's toy box. Dave really took ownership of some of his characters, and that's when he started getting more in charge of some things. John jokingly said that Dave would let him play with the lightsabers as well. Lightsabers are in Ahsoka and none are in the Mandalorian. And Dave joked that, Favreau could say Thrawn in Mandalorian, but he's Thrawn is going to be in Ahsoka, which is kind of cool, kind of funny. They talk about a lot of different random things. It was all good conversation, but bring Ahsoka to live action, casting Rosario, the collaboration between everybody. Highlight, though, the first big highlight, they started talking about Ahsoka and Anakin and how that's the key of the series, or the key of Ahsoka's character, really. No one has more influence on Ahsoka than her master, Anakin Skywalker. Got a video from episode 5, and Hayden Christensen, the chosen one himself, walks out, talks about his time on Ahsoka and bringing the Clone Wars level to a new era, a live action with young Ariana Greenblatt, which people screamed at her name, which is, of course, because she did a wonderful job as well. A lot of fun to be had with them, Hayden and Dave, having some great moments where they talked about how wonderful they were working with George, and how they both went to the school of George Lucas, and how that influenced them, and how they both were on the same page because of that. So it made them very easy to work with each other. Very cool as well. A lot more about that, but then at the end of the panel, it was the host turned and said, at the end of the first season, what does the ending mean? And Dave Filoni says, it means you get season 2, and that's what we're here to talk about. The celebration recap I'm doing is more about news than anything else. We'll get the other side of things when Patty gets here on next Thursday. He says, according to season 2, Rosario says we're about to go into it in a week when we start filming. So they haven't filmed anything yet. That was always my question, whether or not I knew they were starting sometime in April. I didn't know if they were starting it and then coming to Celebration, or just waiting for Celebration to be done and then going to film. Seems like they haven't filmed anything, which is why we don't get any teaser or anything footage here-wise. We did, I say we again, it's a royal we. I wasn't there, and I didn't get any of it anyway. There was a retro-style teaser for season 2 using concept art and things of that nature, which we'll get to. But let's get there first. Rosario Dawson saying we're starting in a week. They said season 2 was a big challenge to Dave. In many ways, it was particularly challenging because of losing Ray Stevenson. I knew Ray from working as a voice actor with him. I always thought that when I make live action, I needed to play a powerful Jedi Knight that I had in mind. He was wonderful to all of us. How big a loss do you think it is? It's bigger. It was a challenge for me to even think about continuing the character. But I had a great team around me, and I'm confident now that Ray would be happy with the direction we're going in. We're continuing because the character was meant to be important. Baylan is representing a parallel to Ahsoka. As someone who walked away from the order in a different way, it led us to the idea of bringing someone else to play the part. I talked with John, and we decided we need to find the right person. And we thought we needed someone to play the part that understood what Ray did. And that's when Dave announced, of course, that something that we already knew, Rory McCann taking over the role. Got a couple of shots of him as Baylan. I think that he looks good. I think he looks great in the role. I think he's going to bring everything that he has to this role. And I think he's going to do it to honor his friend, Ray Stevenson, as well. That's the important part to me. Not only can he do the film, or not only can he do the character and look like the character, he got to really understand Ray and bring what Ray had to it. So it's almost like it's double. It's really doing double duty. It's not just someone who's just taking over a part. He's really trying to invoke his friend. Yes, he was breaking when he was talking about Ray. It was it was a very sad moment for sure. I think Rory McCann is probably the best, given his relationship with Ray Stevenson and what Dave is saying about him. I think it's the best way to move forward. Because recasting, sometimes you don't recast because you have respect for the actor so much. I never liked that, because I think the actor generally, if the character is that beloved, you honor him by continuing the character. Got to continue and write. You got to choose carefully and make sure it's done properly. In this case, I'm confident that it is. So yeah. Filoni talked about a couple other pictures he had thrown up there, some cool bits. Did I actually capture any of those? I might have captured any of those. I don't think I captured any of those. Oh, there is one I did capture. Get to see the ghost right there, baby. You can see the ghost right there. So in that left-hand corner, some more of that for sure. Dave Filoni did tease at one point we're going to get heroes fighting in 2 different galaxies. So Ahsoka and Baylan Skull in one area, and I'm guessing is going to be, Hera and Ezra leading the charge against Thrawn and the other ones, alongside another friend of the rebellion, another big important cog of the rebellion, someone who has never gotten quite the due that he probably deserves. Of course, the great, wonderful, confirmed by Filoni himself in a unusually loquacious mood. He confirmed Admiral Akbar will be in season 2, and he is going to be going head to head with Thrawn, the great tactician from the rebellion, the great tactician of the Imperial remnants. That's awesome. I'm glad to see Admiral Akbar come back. I will say that I enjoy the sequel trilogy. The fact that he got short shifted a little bit. Not that he died. I didn't care. I would much that he sacrificed or he got killed during the battle. I just wanted to see, personally, I just wanted to see him do more. I just want to see more from him, basically. So getting any more from him in any time frame, but especially this one, I think that's a good way to do it. Yeah, personally, I'm excited about season 2. I don't know about you guys, but I really am. Furthermore, we get to see Loth Kittens because Dave has to pay for the show somehow. Of course. Hayden also did confirm that Anakin is coming back for season 2, and that was a big, exciting moment. And then went into this trailer / teaser retro trailer with footage. No footage, but with, I should say, no actual film footage because I haven't filmed anything yet. But concept art and the like. And we got to see in the concept art, supposedly Sabine, Chopper, Hera, and Zeb all involved in that, and those alerts. Nothing about the rumored Obi-Wan and the even more rumor of Padme, Clone Wars stuff. Nothing was in that for sure. But I still feel we could get Obi-Wan. I still feel like Ewan McGregor could make an appearance in a flashback. I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked at all. Yeah, and Douglas, I agree. I want more. I want more of Admiral Akbar. That's why I want more of these shows. Some people want to get away from the known characters. I say no. Let's get more of characters that we do like and connectivity. One characters that we don't have enough of. Admiral Akbar is that kind of character you can put into a show and expand on him alongside other characters. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it as far as I'm concerned. I get not wanting any more Luke or Han or Leia, that kind of thing. I understand that to a degree. Doesn't mean we have to close off the entirety of and have all new characters. But yeah, that was the end of that panel. I think that's actually going to do it for you tonight. I got an hour in without Maddie. Hoping you enjoyed a little bit of this tonight. Like everything, what you think. What do you like from Celebration or the news? Are you excited about Star Wars? What did you think about Celebration? Did you think it hit everything you needed to hit? Let me know in the comments. And if you want, you can join us every week, Holy Snokes. Me and Maddie, we do usually news bits of the week, and also we have a main topic of the day. For the next couple of weeks, it's going to be Andor season 2. We'll have a special bonus episode on May 5th to cover Tales of the Underworld. But yeah, we have a good time there. I also have a lot of other shows on my podcast. I have 2 Middle-Aged Geeks on Film, myself and BJ Campbell, going through franchises. I do a V show about the 1980s sci-fi show with Lego. That's a lot of fun as well. And I do a Queen podcast every week. And that's about it. I have Class Action as well. We do a monthly show where I put up 2 films or directors or actors against each other. Next month is going to be in May. I think it's going to be The Accountant versus The Accountant 2 when that comes out. So that should be a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much. You want to help us out even further, like, share, comment. We have Patreon, patreon.com/PLD Projects. You get some early access for my Queen podcast. You also get the extra bonus to Middle-Aged Geeks on Film. Right now, we are doing the MCU watch through. While we're doing Superman on our main show, we're doing the MCU watch through on a review through, I should say, on the Patreon or YouTube membership as well. That will come on the main channel sometime in like December, I think, at this point, the way I'm going wise. But yeah, otherwise, I love you guys so much. Thank you again for sticking around. I will see you next time here on Holy Snooks. PLD Projects presents Holy Snooks, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Maddie Gunner. May the Force be with you always.